Our next speaker is going to be talking about what is the outlook for raising capital in 2021. And the person that's going to be leading that discussion is going to be Matt Norgren. And Matt has a very great and unique background. I'm very proud to say I've been an investor judge with Matt Norgren several times. I've actually met with other people that he's actually mentored as well too in the industry. So John really is, I'm sorry, Matt is really someone that you really want to pay attention to. So with that being said, Matt Norgren is actually currently the CEO and co-founder of Arcadian Fund and Arcadian Capital Management, which is a venture capital / private equity strategy focused on ancillary services, providing companies in and around cannabis and the hemp industry. Some unique facts about Matt is he actually received his education from the University of Texas in Austin. He also played football at the University of Texas for the Texas Longhorns, and he was a quarterback on the national championship winning team. And what's really cool and unique about Matt is that he was able to actually take a lot of those skills that he learned and developed while at the University of Texas, and he was able to implement that throughout his lifetime and also into his core business philosophies. While playing football on a scholarship at the University of Texas, Matt, he's also a very smart man too. He not only graduated with one, but with 2 degrees within 4 years, and was also accepted into and pursued a master's degree at the University of Texas. Matt had the pleasure and the honor to actually play professionally for the Detroit Lions, as well as the Philadelphia Eagles, which is part of the National Football League. Mr. Norgren went on to earn a dual master's degree in both business administration and sports management from the University of Dallas. From his time doing that, Matt was featured on the Bravo TV show, Most Eligible Dallas. If you remember that TV show, Matt was on that. And while that
Nobody
happened,
saw
he actually
that, David.
well, you don't know that part. You know what? You
Nobody
throw it in
saw
there,
that.
but Matt, let me just give you let me give you this last paragraph because I don't want to underestimate you. The most important thing is this: is that Matt has been appointed to many executive leadership positions with a wide-ranging group of companies and industries, from real estate to sports entertainment, from hospitality to insurance and financial services. Matt truly is a pioneer and is a unique leader in emerging industries to later stage leverage buyouts. He's really focused on finding synergistic opportunities in early stage private growth rounds that have upside potential. Everyone, as someone who I've learned always something from Matt each time I hear him speak, thank you for being here today. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, hey, thanks, David. Hang around too, man. We can talk through things you think are important. It seems like a lot of folks are on here, so really glad to have the opportunity to share some of our thoughts. That introduction makes you feel old, but those of us in the cannabis industry, I think, but you hear people talk about it like dog years. It feels like 7 years per year, and just because of all the things that happen and how quickly things change. And for those of you and those of us that can solve that problem and continue to pivot and grow with it, you're able to build a real nice barrier to entry, because those institutionals that are starting to look at this today, and let me just tell you, the conversation has changed. It's changed definitely. It definitely changed after January 6th. And then in the South, they needed to see a little more. And after Biden took office, it was apparent to the institutionals. The conversation changed. We had been fighting that battle for many, many, many years. The reason we built Arcadian the way we did, was to essentially be able to call it an Andreessen Horowitz of the botanical wellness space. But ultimately, that to break down glass ceilings and open up the industry's resources to these large institutionals, you have to check a certain amount of boxes. And, we really wanted to keep our eyes focused on the ancillary market, because we know that if you can prove performance and build multiple funds and have exits, that there is, if timed right, the ability maybe to access institutional capital that is very, very, very large. And frankly, we feel like we have a responsibility to the industry to do that. And we're only as good as the companies that we invest in are. And so, fortunately, these companies are really good right now. 62% growth last year. Are you kidding me? People keep asking all these questions. What's going to be driving the market? Safe Banking Act now, and this and that. And how about quarterly earnings? Okay, and those aren't going to stop. And now Mexico's in fully, and a lot to tell you about there. Can't go into great detail, but some really exciting things are happening in that market. And so, potentially with, I don't know, you could argue we're still in a bull market. I mean, even through coronavirus, to be frank, is there a bear to come? I don't know. It's the longest cycle ever, probably. Can interest rates be like this always? I don't know. Are tech companies a little bit overvalued? I mean, if you take the top 5 to 7 companies out of the equation last year, the FANG stocks, most people's, the major allocators returns are more like 7%, just with 5 or 7 companies taken out. And then if you go a little deeper and take the top 30 companies out from a return standpoint last year, most allocators on average are going to be in the negative. And so there really is a bear there. And these top 7 companies can't quite possibly do what it looks like. And so I think when you see markets start to change, on top of the fact that cannabis is this commodity like industry that has tech and biotech type returns. I mean, how often does that happen? The cash that these large, multi-state operators are generating, the companies that service them, the strength of this category and servicing this category, the complexity of it, the barrier to entry that we talked about earlier. It's just getting really exciting.
So Matt, let me ask you a question, just because it's really hot for the last few days, and you may not have an answer, but I think a lot of people want to hear your response. So, for the outlook for raising capital, what do you think the effect of the PACT Act is going to have on the industry? And for those that aren't familiar, the PACT Act is the one saying that the United States Postal Service can't send anything in the mail with the vaporizer products, e-cigs, and it has some people concerned about that. And there's still a lot of gray area, and I know it's very raw, Matt. But as someone who invests, as someone myself who invests, how do you think it's going to really change the outlook for the next maybe 3 to 6 months with that?
Yeah, see, the trend is so big, though. Think about the cannabis industry is probably the greatest opportunity in the history of consumer ingredients. Potentially, it's the most dynamic, the most complex, and at the molecular level, the most interesting. For what human beings need at the cellular level. So, I could argue that if you think about the direction this industry is moving, and you look at GW Pharma with just a few FDA approved drugs, sell themselves for what, 7.7 billion to Jazz Pharmaceuticals the other day. If you've got biotech IP and you're in phase 2 clinical work and getting into phase 3 and you're about to come and replace opioids, there is a part of this industry as an ingredient set that is so big happening that does it matter if the Postal Service can't send vape pens? I mean, there's so many tailwinds in so many categories. Can we, be better served to understand some of the things and the road bumps that'll happen? Yeah. And for the last 10 years, we've all been doing this. They continue to come, but we just keep going right over them. And it's because it's so strong in so many areas. The byproducts from hemp, a half a Home Depot in 10 years will probably be hemp fiber somewhere. So do they care about it? All these things are important, but what we have to understand is the big picture. And the big picture is so strong. As long as, particularly with the change in the markets, may happen ahead, this industry is going to become increasingly more interesting for allocators that are trying to balance a portfolio in that environment, looking into their alternatives, generating some extra yield. So we can, let's stay focused on the big picture, but obviously the little things are going to be issues we're going to have to deal with.
And I appreciate you saying that, Matt. We've been telling our own clients and our own investors to calm down and remember the bigger picture. And the ball's rolling, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And even if, as you just said too, it's about the bigger picture and looking past the hood of the car. So I really appreciate you saying that. So thank you. Still there, Matt?
Yeah, I was here. I was seeing if you were going to throw a direction
Oh,
at me a
I
minute ago. Come on,
no,
man.
no. I was just saying that I think it was just really good that you brought that part about the pack about the
Yeah.
bigger
So
picture.
what's important for this for the crowd? I see friends here, John and of
So
course
I think for the
Tom
crowd
and
is this, and I think what most people looking at the questions is the following: you as an investor, and you think about the bigger picture. What are the top two or three items or objective points a company should think about before approaching an investor?
well, first and foremost, try to understand who it is you're talking to. Nothing drives an investor more crazy than if you figure out how to get into a conversation about, educating an investor on the story, and then only to realize that you don't even come close to meeting the mandates of what they're trying to do. Instead, it's hard enough to get that call. So make sure when you get on the phone and you're having conversations with people that could provide you resources, that you do as good a job as you can to understand who they are, what position they may be in. um, you know, so that will give you an advantage because then you can speak to the most likely scenario for you guys to align. If this is a late stage growth equity investor, for example, I mean, you're looking them up and you can get information to see they're doing these big, late stage equity deals. Then you go into the conversation, say, hey, I'm glad to be on the phone with you. From what I can tell, we might be a little bit early, but maybe not. I mean, maybe you, but we love the type of stuff you're doing. We see this deal that you did. What were you thinking there? And then here's how we fit in and could. And so I think that's something that I really want to make an emphasis on is just doing the extra work. We do that as fund managers. We have to have an investments team that takes these things in and gets the information in front of us so we can be clearly following protocols, but understanding like how we can bring value. What's this conversation about? Because we just don't get on the phone. Preparation. So you asked for three things: preparation, execution, integrity. um, you got to prepare for anything in life. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, if you want to achieve something, you don't just start, you have to prepare. And so preparation is one, and then execution. I mean, you've got to see things through all the way to the end. And then I think the one that a lot of people don't talk about, but something we look for, and there's ways of doing it, but integrity, because it's just not worth doing business with people that are going to make things not fun, because this is so much fun. We'd rather not do business and make money with someone. There's too many places to make that happen now. And so integrity.
And I'm really happy you said integrity, because everyone here listening, especially if you're new to the industry, is that this industry is small. And someone like Matt, who's been in for a while, you mentioned like the dog years, and it seems like we've been in for a very long time. Is that if you don't have that good business ethics, you don't have that right integrity, people are not going to want to work with you, and that will spread around. And a great example is there's a deal that was brought to us that was turned on by two other people, and we already knew about it ahead of time because of a pain, and how much of a pain in the butt they were, and how they really didn't have good business ethics. And I'll take another step on what Matt said. And Matt, I'd love to hear your feedback on this. And we have about 8 minutes left. You talked about preparation. You talk about how, hey, you're not going to get on the phone right away. So, in your opinion, would you recommend people having like a one-page executive summary or like a one-page teaser to send that out to people to look at first to even draw interest first? Or
Yeah, I think so. I think so because, like anything in life, the more you only say what needs to be said means that you are listening more and you're receiving more data. And so, in an emerging industry, a manager is, if he's doing it right, and I can just tell you how we think. And by the way, there are 10 or 15 or 20 really great funds in this space, and this is how we all think. And that's to say that you want to be in have an insatiable appetite for information. And so we want to see everything in the industry because it allows us to help put the industry together. I mean, we're all interested in this whole thing working, and particularly being ahead of regulators such that we have this thing tied up and we have strength in the way that it needs to benefit the people that got it here. So give us a one pager because we as managers are not, we're not trying to say no. In a lot of industries, if you get to some place that's an investor, the first step is going to be with somebody whose job is to say no. If you even get a response, they're just
So well said.
right. But I think in our industry, it's a little bit different. My team, I can promise you, we want to chew on every single piece of data that we can. It doesn't matter what it is. And so, not to leverage companies against each other. I mean, look, for example, we're investors in BDS Analytics and Headset. The fact that you can invest in the two leading data companies in the space speaks to your character. They understand that we use information properly and only for the benefit of everybody. And so, if you give us just the information that we need, okay, we want to understand the business. And we're thinking about it, how does this whole thing work together? How does our ecosystem of companies benefit your business? It's for us to understand you more concisely. And so I think just don't be afraid to be whoever you are. There's only upside. So just be the business you are, present the information in a very concise way, because we actually in this space really want to see it all. But it's sometimes discouraging when things come in and people are trying to be overly salesy and you can't really see what's what, and they're just trying to get on a call, and you're like, friend, I do want to get on a call, trust me, we do, but can we be a little smarter about the business before we get on a call? It's just better for everybody. It's so busy, let's be efficient. So yes, just get us, break it down and take steps with
It's
us.
so well said. And not to date myself, we tell our clients it's like the old song by CNC Music Factory, things that make you go, Your one-page teaser should say to someone like us, this looks interesting. Okay, I want to learn more. I want to know more. And I think you really hit the nail on the head. And Matt, we have 2 minutes left. So the floor is yours for the next 2 minutes. What message would you like to give the audience here today?
Wow, that's a tough, I guess, strength in numbers, because we're heading into this inflection point where, by midterms 2022, it ought to be very interesting, right? Because you need 60 votes in Senate right now. You definitely want to have the visibility to get something on Biden's desk, before going into the midterms, understanding, okay, what states are important, by the way, because those state senators, depending on what they run on, then if that state, is a positive state, whether Republican or Democrat, it comes with 2 votes, okay, in the Senate. So every state is equally important as the next because of those Senate votes. And we think there's a lot bigger issues, okay, that are going on over the next year and a half. And this is a bipartisan issue in comparison to others. And so I think you're going to see both sides come to some agreements going into midterms. It's a popular topic for raising capital and getting votes in every state pretty much. And so you'll see more people run on that didn't have to in the last election cycle. So we think after midterms, there's a really good chance that some big things happen there. In advance of that, banking will probably happen, some other things, including quarterly earnings. And so I think the reason I tell you that is because it's time for us to be thinking work together.
Yep.
It's like if you watched Game of Thrones or something, it's like the Night Walkers are coming. Okay, it's inevitable. And if you don't all come together as kingdoms, it'll be much more difficult. But together, it's a great victory, and I hope that Arcadian can be a part of that. Visit our website. Hope we can talk to you soon. But God bless you.
You know what, Matt? Your timing was perfect. You ended right on time. Thank you so much, everyone. If you have any other questions, please reach out to to Matt directly. Please, he'll put his contact information in there. Also, to really pay attention to what he said. You know, you need to prepare ahead of time. Okay, work on that one-page executive summary, because I'll tell you right now, if you have that one-page executive summary, you're going to open up a lot more doors than sending out your 30 or 40-page pitch deck. Because myself, I'm sure Matt and other investors here and other from other funds will get sent all these decks, and we're like, it's 30 pages. Just give me the one-page summary. Let's make this more simplistic. So, so Matt, once again, thank you so much.